Hi there. In this lecture we're going to see the magic of Mikhail Tal, the magician from Riga. So Mikhail Tal, one of the former world chess champions. He was still strong later in his career. This is 1989. He's playing white against Alexander Beliavsky. And we do reach, after e4, c5, knight f3, d6, we're about to reach a backward pawn situation because after bishop e3, black played e5. This is also quite often in Najdorf's with bishop e3. Sometimes black plays e5. So understanding the backward pawn is important, the upsides and downsides for both sides, basically. So we see knight f3 being played by Tal, bishop e7, and now bishop c4. So he's trying to establish a lock and key over the d5 square. We see black castling, white castles, bishop e6, the bishop drops back. Not minding at all double pawns, by the way. This is of no consequence if black takes here and doubles our pawns. In the wider scheme of the d5 square, this is just very pleasant. White could, for example, build up here. The rook dare not leave because the bishop takes a7. If the other rook goes to d8, black's in a very, very passive position. And in fact, this is a good plan here, knight h2 to g4, to undermine the defender of d5. If you ever get a situation like this, you can maximize the pain of the d5 square, and this is just massively better for white from a positional perspective. So black hasn't got use of d4, but you've got use of d5. It's a wonderful position to have in general. Okay, so knight a5 though is played, queen e2, queen c8, rook fd1, and black is enjoying that outpost square. And Tal doesn't mind actually putting his bishop back. It looks a bit strange to do this. The rook's hemmed in, the bishop's back at base. Why do this? Well, it's necessary because black was threatening some nasty business with knight takes b2. You know, you can't just protect this because knight takes b2 and queen takes c3. So this is necessary. It meets the requirements that are needed. We have h6. And here things get really interesting and I would say somewhat instructive. Although we have the d5 square, it seems as though we really can't do anything with it. We can't even play bishop g5 now. h6 has ruled that out and the bishop's protecting b2. Is it totally passive, this position? Has black really got a superb position here? Well, actually, you know, if we look at this for inspiration, this is a key square, but isn't f5 a key square as well? Wouldn't that be nice to have a knight on f5? And Mikhail Tal plays knight h4, yes. We have here queen c5 being played. If bishop g4, this neglects c4, slight snag. That's going to be winning material. If knight g4, again, you know, knight f5, the knight can't be victimized because of c4 and g4 issues. Both knights are being attacked. The knights, one of them is dropping off. The knights are in a bad way there. So queen c5, and all of a sudden now, Tal conjures up something super interesting, believe it or not, in this position. He doesn't really want to play knight f5 necessarily because black might just take that off and potentially liberate with d5 even. You know, there's stuff like that. So actually there's a really, really cunning move here which kind of whips up kingside pressure. I wonder if you can guess what Tal played if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. White to play, what would you play here? So a clue, it's not knight f5 as such. It's actually queen f3, and you might think, queen f3? Queen f3? Doesn't that go into a skewer? Well, black did play that. And, you know, if black didn't for a moment, then, you know, knight f5 here is under much better circumstances. White can keep that hold, that lock on the d5 square by taking on f5 with the queen. So white's going to get a nice advantage here. So bishop g4 seems tempting, but the point is revealed. Queen g3. It's looking at g7. Bishop takes d1 is played. That is not a good move, actually. King h7 is probably the best move. So after knight f5, not bishop takes, queen takes g7 mate. But this position might actually be about equal. This position on h8 is slightly different, actually. After h3, knight f5, threatening checkmate and hitting the bishop. White is actually doing very well because h6 is a target now. The king's being compromised. It's just horrendous, actually, for black there. So king h7 would have been the way to equalize, but black here played bishop takes, and we have knight f5, so threatening checkmate, and the bishop on e7. Bishop g4, and that is taken out. And you might think, well, you know, that bishop was blocked in by, you know, the backward pawn. Why take that bishop out? Why? It was a bad piece anyway, wasn't it? Well, actually, you know, sometimes these bad bishops, they add solidity to the position. The bishop was making f6 more solid, and Tal, you know, he has that instinct, that killer instinct, for saying, you know, although it was bad, it was adding solidity to f6. And guess what? What does Tal play here, which kind of hammers f6 a little bit? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play in this position? Okay, queen h4. So it's looking at h6 and f6, which is now being weakened. We have knight b6. If the knight can't move because, you know, g4's hanging there, you just take that and then take on g4. And if bishop e6, then bishop takes h6 is the point. Yeah, with the absence of the e7 bishop, f6 is weaker. You know, this is horrendous. Yeah, it's crushing, absolutely, this position. So we see knight b6 being played. Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky position indeed. You know, g5. We're just going to take that as, you know, pin pawn. What does black do? So knight b6 was tried. You know, bishop takes h6, g takes, queen takes f6. The queen's not a welcome visitor around the king here. And look at f7. All of a sudden, we see knight d7, queen h4, bishop e6, and now knight cd5. Nice outpost square. Rook e8, rook d1, reinforcing, queen a5, and now check. Knight takes, queen takes, the queen is back with a vengeance. d5, very desperate, e takes, and actually the game ended here. It's a horrendous position here, actually. White is threatening, you know, bishop takes e6, and f takes, queen g6, and then queen h6 is checkmate. The knight's controlling the g8 escape square. So d5 is a desperate move. It's already busted position. E takes, the game ended. If it continued, say with bishop d7, then d6, you know, it's a big pass pawn on d6. And also the black king is getting it here, checkmate, as well. It's not only a big pass pawn, bishop takes f7 is on the cards. So Tal, you know, whipped up something from nothing, it seems. From absolutely nothing. It looks as though, you know, he's tied up. He's retracted his bishop. His rook is at home. These are spectator pieces, are they not? Are they not passive? Is black's outpost strategy not effective? Fascinating, isn't it? The cruelty and the possibilities of chess to play a knight on the rim is dim move, and all of a sudden, you know, justifying it because it's going to re-centralize. That's the thing. It's not necessarily that dim when it goes to f5. It's coordinating on a killer common square and it's hitting the e7 bishop. So yeah, fascinating little example of a position which Tal, you know, gravitated to a direct kingside attack. So yeah, maybe something to inspire you to switch attention to the king side when you have a little bit of a padlock on the d5 square in front of the backward pawn. You know, think about how you can transform your advantages to a direct kingside attack, which will end the game, usually. and taking out the bad bishop, the so-called bad bishop, you know, which is locked in by the backward pawn. You know, sometimes maybe be open-minded about that. It is adding solidity to the black position, you know, squares like f6, as Tal demonstrated, that if you can undermine f6 later, you know, that's going to be very useful to fragment these pawns. Okay. Thanks very much. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the free sample from my ultimate guide to chess pawn structures, where I really enjoyed gaining a lot of insight for myself and sharing with you guys about various different key structures which you should know about: isolated pawns, backward pawns, hanging pawns. I even talk about form pawns, and this actually has a mammoth 45 plus hours of video content in this course, and you can get it at a discount as well with the standard voucher code, which is on Kingscrusher TV/pawns. So I hope you do check out this pawn structure course. It's given me a lot of confidence to know fundamentally what's going on. Helps with, you know, getting a template plan quite easily just based on the pawn structure cues of a chess position. Okay, so I do hope you check that out. Thanks very much.